Hello guys, so one of the most requested video by many of you was to start a series on developing multi-AI agents using LangGraph. So finally I've started this particular series. In this video we are going to discuss about what is LangGraph, why do you require LangGraph. Along with this we'll also be getting started with one practical example, how to probably go ahead and create your multi-AI agents. So if you're new to this channel, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and watch this video till the end, because this entire video will be for 40 minutes, somewhere around 35 to 40 minutes, where I will be explaining each and everything so that you can also get started with LangGraph. Not only this, I have planned a lot of videos in this series, so that where we discuss a lot of end-to-end projects, how to probably create chatbots, how you can use it in different domains like customer support, let's say if you want to book your tickets, if you want to probably do multiple tasks itself. So all those things will be included in this particular series. One more additional thing, guys, I've been bringing up some amazing courses in Udemy. So if you are interested to take up all those kind of courses, it is an affordable courses, just in 399 rupees. You can probably check out in the link in the description of this particular video. So yes, let's go ahead and enjoy this particular series. Thank you. Hello guys, in this video and in the upcoming series of video, we are going to discuss about a new module in LangChain, which is called as LangGraph. Now LangGraph is quite amazing because it actually helps you to build stateful multi-actor application with LLMs. It is used to create agent and multi-agent workflow. So this is really important. Now there are a lot of libraries, a lot of open source libraries that are available, which actually helps you to create multi-agent workflow. But if I probably consider LangGraph, it's quite amazing. So in this entire video and in the upcoming series of video, I will be discussing many things about LangGraph. First of all, the agenda of this particular video will be that we'll try to discuss what exactly is LangGraph, why LangGraph, and we'll try to create a chatbot wherein we will get just started with LangGraph, where I will be showing you with respect to all the coding things, right? So all these things we will be covering. And when we'll discuss about why LangGraph, at that point of time, you'll understand the importance of LangGraph. And through this, you'll also be able to cover, or you'll be able to just compare with all the libraries, open source libraries that are available to create multi-AI agents workflows, right? And I feel right now LangGraph is quite amazing. And as you all know, what LangChain is also doing is that LangChain is coming up with this own cloud platform through which you will be able to build your own multi-agent workflow using LangGraph, and you can do it completely in a visualization way, right? And right now it just supports for the Mac machine. So we'll be discussing all about that as we go ahead. But right now, let's go ahead and focus on, first of all, we'll go ahead and see the definition of LangGraph. So if I talk about what is LangGraph, LangGraph is a library for building stateful multi-actor application with LLMs used to create agent and multi-agent workflows. Compared to other LLM frameworks, it offers this core benefit cycles. So this is really important. Controllability and persistence. Okay, LangGraph allows you to define the flows that involves cycle, essential for most agentic architecture, differentiating it from DAG-based solutions. Now, if you have seen already my previous video, I hope everybody knows about GraphDB. Okay, so what exactly is GraphDB? It probably helps you to create, if I probably just talk about creating RAG application using graph knowledge, right? So here specifically you have nodes, you have relationship between the nodes like this, and with the help of this kind of relationships, you can actually build this graph knowledge. Okay, and graph knowledge is specifically built right now. Even in Google search engine, you will be able to see graph knowledge, and with the help of this graph knowledge, you'll be able to develop some amazing RAG application, because the efficiency with respect to the graph knowledge search is quite amazing. So graph knowledge has the combination of all the kind of search, the hybrid search, the graph knowledge search. So whenever you have any information which is displayed, or which is probably converted into a graph knowledge information, then your conversation with this kind of data store, right, can be quite amazing. So already I have discussed about this in our previous video, but in this video we will try to talk about LangGraph, and the main thing will be that how we have actually created this graph DB structure, right, in the form of graph knowledge. Similarly, LangGraph is also offers those kind of functionality. We can create the entire multi-AI agent workflow using this graph knowledge itself, right? So like how we have nodes, relationship and all, similarly in the LangGraph also we'll be able to do that, okay? So till now we have just discussed about the definition. Don't worry if you are not able to understand, because once we start the practical application, everything you'll be able to understand, okay? Now let's talk about the second question, the second most important question. Why LangGraph? Why LangGraph? Okay. Now here I will be talking about some amazing benefits of using LangGraph in point wise. Okay. So let's go and talk about this amazing benefits of using LangGraph. So number one, okay. Number one is that it really simplifies the development. Simplifies development. Now, when I say simplifies development, what does this basically mean? See, whatever complexities, usually whenever we develop any multi-AI agents, right, there are multiple things that is involved. The state management of the agent, like at which stage, at what work it needs to really do, and agent coordination. Let's say one agent needs to communicate with any other agents, right? When we say agents, we are basically talking about multi-AI agents, right? So these two things are very important, you know. Here, if I probably seen most of the libraries that I've actually used, most of the open source libraries that I've used to probably develop multi-AI agents, this two information that we have, that is state management and agent coordination, I found out a lot of difficulties with respect to managing these things, right? But with the help of LangGraph, it really simplifies it. Now, when we talk about state management and agent coordination, what does this basically mean? Let's say that I'm using 3 to 4 multi-AI agents in my generative AI application. One agent is probably doing some Wikipedia search. So let's say I require agent 1, I require agent 2, I require agent 3, right? So let's say all these specific agents are there, right? Each and every agent probably needs to, it does some specific task, right? Let's say this will be doing a Google search. This will be doing a Wikipedia search. And this will probably do a vector search, vector DB search, right? And here is my chatbot, which is specifically using all this multi-AI agents. Now, whenever we develop this kind of application, it is very important that we have to do the state management efficiently for all the agents, and also the agent coordination. What does agent coordination basically means? The communication between this kind of agents. Let's say whenever a query is asked, first of all, we go and ask agent 1, hey, whether you really need to do a Google search. If you are doing it, you really need to provide that information to agent 2. Then agent 3 will probably come into picture. So this kind of communication is basically a kind of agent coordination, okay? So whenever we are developing this kind of things, you know, and there may be also scenario that when you're developing a use case, the agent 1 response may be dependent on agent 2 response, you know. So agent 2 will only be able to work when they get the response from agent 1. I'm just giving some hypothetical scenarios, okay? Now, when we are developing this kind of chatbots, as a developer, we really need to define workflows. We need to define workflows. We need to define logics, right? Without worrying, right? Without worrying about so many different things, right? So that is what it actually does. LangGraph actually provides you this entire simplifies this entire development process, and it will actually help you to create an efficient multi-AI agents, right? So we will be discussing more about it when we go ahead and discuss about the practical implementation. Second thing is that why LangGraph you should use it. Second thing, a very important point is related to flexibility, okay? So whenever we talk about flexibility, I will just make sure to provide some description information over here so that you will be able to refer this, okay? So With respect to flexibility, you can see with LangGraph, developers have the flexibility to define their own agent logic, communication protocols. This allows for highly customized application tailored to specific use cases. Whether you need a chatbot that can handle various types of user requests or a multi-agent system that performs complex tasks, LangGraph provides the tools to build exactly what you need. Okay, so it's all about giving you the power to create. So with respect to flexibility, as I said, the kind of logics that you can basically write will be quite amazing. You'll be seeing that how granular level logics you can actually write with respect to each and every agents that you specifically create. I will be showing you as we go ahead with one very good practical example. Okay. Then the third thing is that if I talk about the third important point, why specifically we should use LangGraph, it is related to scalability. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about scalability, here, when we are building this multi-agent application, we can actually build large-scale multi-agent application, large-scale multi-agent applications. Now, what do we mean by large-scale multi-agent application? See, the kind of robust architecture we basically use, this large-scale multi-agent, we basically say this as large-scale multi-agent application because it can handle high volume of interaction, right? The interaction can be between agents, and it also has a really amazing or complex workflows. And you'll be seeing when we define about complex workflows, it will be very simple to develop this entire workflow itself, right? And even LangChain is coming up with a feature, and probably many companies are going to use specifically in enterprise, right? And there is also an enterprise version. We can specifically develop this as an enterprise level application, right? With all the features, and it is also coming up with its own cloud where you can just do drag and drop and you can actually create this, right? Final important feature, if I talk about, is something called as fault tolerance. Fault tolerance. So it also has this amazing feature, LangGraph. Okay. So the kind of libraries you'll be seeing, LangGraph libraries will include, right? It will be able to handle errors. You'll be seeing that it will be able to handle errors. It will be ensuring even though your application fails, it should be continuously working. And let's say that one individual agent encounters an error, right? Then also there will be some fault tolerance mechanism it will basically have, wherein it will not just stop the application, but instead it will keep on running, right? So this is one of the very important core feature, that is reliability, right? Whenever we talk about reliability. So this was two important things. We have discussed about the definition of LangGraph. We have discussed why LangGraph. Now it's time that I show you some of the amazing applications, how we can actually go ahead with the development. Here, what we are basically going to do is that we are going to create a chatbot, okay? And we'll try to create an agent, let's say, in the form of chatbot. And again, in the backside, or right, or in the back end, you'll be able to see that we'll also be able to create a graph, like how that entire agent specifically works. So quickly, I will go ahead and this I'm executing in the Google Colab. You can also go ahead and use it. Okay. So let's say that I will just use any of the GPU that I have. Okay. I'll just go ahead and connect it. Anyhow, you don't require GPU in this, but definitely we will be seeing that if you have any kind of, if you require any kind of keys over here. And when I say that I'm going to create a chatbot, let me just go ahead and discuss about this architecture of the chatbot. So what I am going to create over here, right? So let's say that there is a chatbot over here. This chatbot, I will try to create some kind of node. Let's say this will be my start node. Okay. Whenever any user query comes, you should be able to see that I will create a chatbot over here. This chatbot can basically interact with any LLM models. Okay. And once it probably gives you the output, we should end this entire flow. Okay. So the reason why I'm drawing this in the form of graph, because LangGraph also does the same thing. Okay. So LangGraph also creates the entire flow in the form of graph itself, where you'll have nodes and all, right? Now there are two main important things when we see this. These are specifically nodes, right? Start and end node. This chatbot is one node. And when I write chatbot, that basically means it is having some kind of definition, right? If a chatbot needs to move from one step, let's say from one state to the other state, we basically call that as a state management, right? So probably after executing this, the chatbot is moving towards the end state. So something is basically happening. So let's go ahead and create this, and then you'll be able to understand more about it. Okay. So first of all, we will go ahead and install pip install LangGraph. So we are going to specifically use LangGraph. Okay. And we will also use LangSmith. So let's go ahead and execute this. LangSmith, I hope everybody knows what exactly it is. So till then, I will also go ahead and show you the documentation page of LangGraph. So this is what a LangGraph is all about, right? It has Python, it supports JavaScript and all. But if I just go ahead and show you LangGraph tutorials, right? So here you can see this is the tutorial, right? And not this, sorry. Let's see. Yes, here you go, right? In the LangGraph page, it should be somewhere. Or let me just go to LangChain, langchain.com. And here's your LangGraph. Yes. So here you can actually see we will try to create this kind of nodes, right? And I hope everybody has seen this kind of nodes specifically, right? So what does LangGraph actually supports you to? It provides controllable cognitive architecture for any task. It is designed for human agent collaborations, right? This kind of graphs also you'll be able to see. All these things I will try to show you in this video. So it has this fault tolerant scalability, optimized for real world interaction, and integrated developer experience, amazing features. And I feel, right, if you probably get the access of the beta server, right, and you'll just be able to see the power of this. But at the end of the day, we will be creating some amazing agents, you know. So here you can see I have installed both the libraries, LangGraph and LangSmith. Now let's go ahead and start more things over here. Now, as we go ahead, we are also going to install LangChain, because we definitely require LangChain. And then we are going to use LangChain underscore grok. Along with this, we are also going to use LangChain underscore community, right? So these all libraries will be specifically required in order to build our entire chatbot, right? So here you can see the installation is basically taking place. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and import OS, or what I will do is that I will write from google.collab, okay, import user data. Okay. Now see, as you all know, when we worked specifically with VS Code, you know, we used to create environment variables to access any keys. It can be Grok API, it can be LangSmith keys. Now, similarly, with respect to Google Colab, whenever you are working with Google Colab, here you can see one option. Here you can actually go ahead and upload all your secret keys. Let's say if you want to use Grok API, if you want to use OpenAI API, if you want to use LangSmith API, if you want to use Hugging Face API, you can just go ahead and enter it over here, add a new secret key, and you can add the key and value pair. Okay. Here is your password. Here is your key name. Now, in order to access this key, you can actually see that I have already uploaded it over here, right? So let's say, since I'm going to use a chatbot which will be interacting with my Grok API. So if you don't know about Grok API, you can just go over here and search for grok.com. When you go to grok.com, you can sign it with your email ID. Let's say I'm going to sign it because it provides you free API to access the open source models, you know. So I will go to Grok API over here, and here you'll be able to see that a lot of different models are basically available, right? Llama 3.1, you also have Llama 3, you have Gamma 29B, you have Distal Whisper Large V3 encoding EN. So all these kind of models are there. You can specifically use this particular model. And I have already covered this in my previous videos. Okay. Now in this scenario, what I'm actually going to do, I will be using some APIs for this. So if I go and click on start building, here you can see that I will go to my Grok Cloud console. Then here you can go to API keys. Once you go to API keys, you can probably create your own API key. I've created so many different API keys. You can go ahead and create your own API key, right? I've already shown that also in my previous videos. Once you create an API key, just go ahead and click over here, add a new secret key, just go ahead and write grok_API key and put it over here, right? All the API keys itself. Now, once you're able to add in the secret, the next thing is that I will try to read that particular API key in my Google Colab. So in order to read, I will go ahead and write from google.colab import user data. And let's say that I want my grok_API_key. I can just use this user data dot get grok API key. So if I go ahead and just print this, you'll be able to see that I'm actually able to read it, grok API_key. This is just to show you, don't use this anyhow. So here you can see it is asking, should we access this particular secret name, grok API key. The notebook title untitled 106.ipy does not have access to secret name, grant access. So if I click on grant access, but right now what happened? Timeout happened, right? So I'll go ahead and execute it once again. And now you'll be able to access this, right? So this is my grok API key that you are able to see. Perfect. Right? So now this grok API key, I can actually use it. I can use it for creating my LLM application, anything that I want. Okay. Now, once this is done, what I'm actually going to do, I'm also going to use LangSmith. Okay. And I hope everybody knows what exactly is LangSmith, right? So here I will go ahead and write LangSmith. LangSmith actually helps you to, so if I go ahead and just do sign up, right, it'll be able to help you to track each and every information with respect to the interaction that you have actually created in your chatbot, right? So if you go to LangSmith over here, you'll be able to get the dashboard, right? So I'll go to settings. Here is my API key. If you don't have an API key, go ahead and create an API key. But if you go ahead and see in my secret key, I've already added that LangSmith_API_key. Okay. Now let's go ahead and read the LangSmith key also. So I will go ahead and write LangSmith is equal to user data dot get, and here also I'm going to use LangSmith. Let's see what is the key name. Okay. So I will just go ahead and print my LangSmith. Okay. So here you'll be able to see that I will also be able to get it. So it will ask for grant access. I will give the grant access over here, and it should be able to display it, and it is displaying. AFE is the last term. AFE is also over here. So I have read both this particular key, and both this key will be specifically used for creating my chatbot application. LangSmith will be specifically used for tracking everything that is basically happening over here. Now the next thing will be that I will go ahead and import OS. Then let's go ahead and import os.environ. I will just go ahead and save all these things, right? So first of all, I need LangChain, LangSmith API key. Okay. I can also go ahead and write LangSmith, or I can also go ahead and write LangChain API key. So let's go ahead and do this. LangChain API key, I will set this to my LangSmith. Okay. We need to set up this specific keys itself. Okay. Then my endpoint is specifically not required. I will just go ahead and copy these two things, and this is basically just used to set up the basic requirements, right? LangChain tracing v2 and LangChain project. Okay. So let's say this will basically be my course LangGraph. Okay. So this is what is my project name that I'm actually writing. I'm saying that, hey, we need to make sure that you need to keep the tracing underscore v2 as true. And LangChain API key is nothing but it is assigned to LangSmith API key. Now, you may be thinking, Krish, why did you use LangChain underscore API key? No, you can also use LangSmith. But according to the documentation, when I saw, both of them were satisfied. So I just used LangChain underscore API key. So let's go ahead and execute this. So once this is executed, you'll be able to see all the information over here. Now, quickly, let's go ahead and write from LangChain underscore grok import ChatGrok, because I need to use the ChatGrok open source models. Okay. Now this is done. Now I will go ahead and create my LLM model. So it is nothing but ChatGrok. And inside this, I will be using my Grok underscore API underscore key, which is equal to Grok API key. And my model underscore name will be nothing but, you can use multiple models, any models that you want. So in the Grok cloud, I can see there is Llama 3.1, anything that you want. I will just go ahead and use this Gamma 2 9B IT. Okay. So this specific model, I will go ahead and use it. It is up to you. Now, nothing compulsory which model you really need to use. You can use any model that is provided by Grok, right? So this is done. This is my LLM model. Okay. Now the next step will be that now here you can see, yeah, I'm able to access all the models. I'm able to access the model Gamma 2 9B IT. Okay. Now it's time we start building chatbot using LangGraph, right? So here is what we are going to basically start, and this is the most important thing, right? So if I probably go ahead and say this, okay. So first of all, understand there are multiple things which we really need to start with the importing part. Okay. So first of all, I will be importing something called as annotated, right? So from typing, I will be importing annotated. From typing extension, I'll be importing typed dict. Okay. Along with this, I will be importing two important libraries from LangGraph. So I will go ahead and write from LangGraph. You'll understand why this importing is done just in some time. Okay. From LangGraph dot graph. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and import two things. One is state graph. State graph actually helps you to manage the entire state management. Then your start node, and your end node, right? You remember that I actually created a diagram, right? Where we had a start node, then we had an end node, which actually shows the flow of the entire chatbot itself. Okay. Along with this, I will also be showing, like this. See, the state graph is basically used for the state management purpose. Now, the state graph needs to keep on changing based on some parameters. Okay. So for that, what I will be doing, I will go ahead and write from LangGraph dot graph dot messages. Message. I'm just going to go ahead and import add underscore messages. Okay. Now this is one of the function. What it does is that we have this something called as messages, right? As we keep on adding the messages over here, we will be able to see that our state management, our state of the agent will keep on changing. Now this messages is just like, you can understand like when a user is giving a query, the LLM model is giving a response. When it is giving a response, the message will get added over here, and then my state of the chatbot will also get changed, right? So this messages is basically keeping the track of all those things. Okay. So now let's go ahead and execute this. So this has got executed successfully. You can understand each and everything I have actually explained. We will talk about this too, right? Just in some time. Now we will go ahead and create our own class. Let's say this is my class state, which will be making sure to probably control the entire state management. Here I will go ahead and write typed dict. Okay. So I will go ahead and write typed dict. Okay. Typed dict. Okay. So this class is basically inheriting this particular typed dict. Okay. Now what we will do, we will go ahead and write some comments over here. Okay. So that you'll be able to understand. Messages that have the type list, the add message function in the annotation defines how this state key should be updated. It appends the message to the list rather than overwriting. So inside this class, I've created a variable called as messages. Okay. And this messages is of type annotated. And this annotated is basically saying, hey, it is a list type. And here I'm using this function called as add messages. This add messages will be responsible on adding or appending the messages to this list. Okay. Which is basically created in the form of list in this messages variable. and it will not override them. The entire state management will be controlled as we keep on adding this particular messages, because on every add we will be changing our state. Okay. Now the next thing that we will go ahead and define, since I've defined my class state, I will go ahead and write my graph builder. Okay, I will go ahead and define my graph builder. So this is what we start our graph building process. So here I'm going to use state graph, the state graph which I have actually imported it over here. And this state graph will have this particular class which is called as state, because this state knows which messages are there, what messages are basically getting appended. And this graph builder should be responsible in managing the entire state management, right? So once I execute this, here is my graph builder. So let me just go ahead and execute this. So this is my graph builder over here, right? So here you can see langgraph.graph.state, state graph at this specific location. So guys, now after we have created the graph builder, what we are basically going to do is that, already in this diagram, you saw that, right? We are going to create this chatbot. Now this chatbot should be interacting with our LLM. So for this, we will go ahead and write some definition. So let's quickly go ahead and create a function, definition chatbot. And remember, whenever we creating any node, right, in this entire graph builder, it needs to take the parameter as state. Okay, whatever state we are giving over here. And this will be important because the reason is very simple, because based on this state message, right, whatever messages, whatever interaction that we are doing, the state management will keep on changing. So here we go ahead and define this chatbot where we take the parameter as state, and then we return. You know that after any response that we get from the chatbot, we need to update this messages variable. So here I will go ahead and create this messages, and here I will just go ahead and write LLM.invoke. Okay. And this invoke will be specifically invoking from the state message, which will have the user queries, right? So whenever a user queries, you will be able to see that this messages will get appended in this particular message variable. And once it does that, we are just going to invoke that. And whatever response we are getting it, we are again appending it over here, right? Or we are putting in this particular value. We are returning this entire in this particular format. When we return this, when we are inheriting the state class, right, it is going to understand, hey, whenever we return this kind of message, it is going to trigger this add message, and it is going to add this in this messages variable. Okay. So just understand in this way is that here I have a chatbot function, which is invoking the previous messages given by the user, and we are returning some kind of messages over here. Okay. So once we execute this, I will be getting my chatbot. Now this chatbot needs to get added in this graph builder. So here I will go ahead and write graph underscore builder dot add underscore node. And here I'm going to specifically use chatbot as my node name, which will have the functionality of this particular chatbot. Okay. So once I execute this, you'll be able to see that this entire node is basically getting added. So now if I go ahead and just display this, you'll not be able to see much things over here, but we will be seeing the entire diagram. So step by step, you can see that what we have done. First of all, we have created this class state. Then we have created our graph builder. Then we have defined our chatbot, what functionality is basically doing and what it is returning. It is returning just message colon some output that we are getting over here, right? And remember, this chatbot is inheriting the state class, and the state class has one variable messages in the form of list. And there is a function called as add underscore message, which will keep on appending whatever message we are specifically getting over here, right? So that is what it is basically doing. Now, since we have created this graph builder, now it's time that we connect this chatbot to the start and the end node. Okay. So here I'm going to go ahead and write graph builder dot add edge. Okay. So add edge start chatbot. Okay. So we are basically going to add the start and the chatbot, and similarly we are going to add chatbot till the end, right? So then only we will be able to find out, we'll be able to get this kind of flow. So start is basically appended with chatbot, and chatbot is basically getting appended with end. Start basically means once ever we get a user query, it will just start the process. Then chatbot will do the interaction with LLM. It will give us the value and it will go to the end state. And how this state management is basically happening? Because of this state class which we have inherited in graph builder. Okay. So once we execute this, this is done. So finally what we do after creating this, after adding all these nodes, we go ahead and write graph builder. We need to compile it. So we'll go ahead and write dot compile. So once we compile it, we'll be getting our entire graph ready. So here is my graph itself. So once I execute this, my graph is ready. Now let me just go ahead and display this. So in order to display this in the documentation, I saw this code where they are importing image and display, and there is something called as graph.getGraph. So here instead of graph, I'll write graph builder. Okay. Or sorry, it should be graph only because we have compiled it. Get graph draw mermaid PNG. Okay. So once I execute this, you'll be able to see that I'll be getting this entire flow. So start and end are just like one private functions that are present inside the state. I probably say this particular class, the state graph class, right? Which is present inside this LangGraph.graph, LangGraph.graph, right? And now this will basically, as soon as the user queries, we will go to the start state. Then it goes to the chatbot. Here the interaction will basically happen. And once the interaction happens, the state should change, right? Once we get the response, it will go to the end state. Now let's go ahead and execute this, and then only you'll be able to see the output. Okay. And we are just going to start this. Okay. So here I will just go ahead and write while true, user underscore input is equal to input user input user, and here I'm going to just go ahead and write if user underscore input dot lower in, let's say I will go ahead and say, hey, if you are just going and typing in quit or queue, right, we're just going to stop the conversation with the flow, right? So here I'm just going to write print goodbye. Okay. And then we are just going to break from here. Okay. But if the user inputs something else, so here I will go ahead and write for event in graph.stream. Okay. We are just going to stream. And here we are going to use this messages as my key variable. Messages is a colon. And here I'm going to give based on user. See, initially, whenever user gives the input message, I need to set this as user, right? As the parameter. And here will basically be my user input. Okay. Then I will go ahead and write print event dot values. We are just going to print the values. Then here more we can go ahead and probably convert this or explore this value. So here I will write for value in event dot values, print value, and inside that value there will be a key which is called as messages. Okay. And then we will go ahead and print our assistant message. Assistant basically means the message that is basically coming from our LLMs. So here you'll be able to see value messages dot content. So here let's explore this code. First of all, a user is giving an input. If it is not giving quit and queue, so it will go to graph.stream with respect to all the messages that users have already given. Then we are going to get that event.values. For value, we are going to get two important things. One is value of messages and one is the value of messages of content. So this value of messages, I think it should have the user message and this should have the LLM model response. So let me go ahead and execute it. So I will go ahead and write hello. Let's see. So here assistant, you can see, right? Hello, how can I help you? See, all these messages are basically coming in the form of dict value, right? So here, hello, how can I help you today is the response, and I'm able to get. So let me go and ask, what is generative AI? Right? So here you'll be able to see that all the response is there, right? Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence. Think of it. So it's amazing, right? You're able to get the entire response. And here also you can see response metadata, content is over here. So if you just go ahead and explore this, some of the other keys will be available over here, right? And if you go ahead and see down, so this is my entire generative AI message. So if I just go ahead and write Q, it should be exiting over here, right? So here you can see it says goodbye. So guys, I hope you liked this specific video and you were able to understand how to basically create a simple chatbot in the form of with the help of LangGraph. And here we have basically used the graph itself, right? From start till the end node. We have understood that whenever we create any node, it also needs to have a definition and how we can connect each and every node. Now in the upcoming videos, we are going to develop more complex projects on LangGraph where we'll be using external tools. There will just not use one node, but there will be multiple nodes as we go ahead. So I hope you like this particular video. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.